Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talk Now Radio. This is your host, Royce the Redneck Radio Man. And joining me today is going to be Nick Clements. And we're going to be talking about his book, The Alpha Wolf, which is not about a wolf now, actually, but it's about rites of passage and what can be gained from them. And as many people know, we don't have the same rites of passage that we used to have. In the old days, there's still some, and most of them, I think, they call them initiation now, like in college, but it's just not the same thing, and it does not do the same benefit. But today's guest is really the expert in this and not me. So without further ado, why don't we bring him in, and we can get started on this. Well, actually, let's get a little further ado, because I almost forgot to mention, if you want to learn more about the guest, you can go to www.nickclements.com. And click on that, and he's got more information about him and his books and other reading material. You can learn a lot about him. And if y'all would like to call in, the number is 832-632-7904. If y'all are listening elsewhere or listening but not logged into the site, membership here is free. The only reason they even have that is to keep spam bots out of the chat room. If you're listening elsewhere, the address is www.talknowradio.com. So, Nick, how are you doing today?
Good, very good, Royce. Yeah, and enjoying life at the moment.
I do my best to do the same thing. I got to tell you, sometimes it's not easy, but we make the best out of what we got.
Absolutely, man.
So, why don't you tell us real quick a little something about yourself and, what motivated you to write this book?
Yeah, thanks. I grew up with a father who was present in my life, but was also was an alcoholic and very violent man, and so my understanding of masculinity and male role models was very distorted. And I've spent a lot of my life working with young men and fathers, and trying to look at what is a good man, what is a vulnerable man and a brave man, what is being brave. And so a lot of my life, like you say, I've been involved in rites of passage and initiations and ceremonies and those kind of things, where I'm trying to encourage men and boys to become more mature. That's really what I'm kind of coming to, is encouraging maturity in our masculinity, and seeing that men can grow up and have a whole range of attributes, not just being macho or just being violent and those kind of things.
Yeah. I got a 23-year-old son that has been out in the workforce at a theater for about roughly, I would say, a year and a half now. And just during that short time, he has just totally observed with shock how many grown people act like they're still teenagers or even below a teenager level of mentality out in public places, and many of them on the actual job site. And he just didn't know at first what to make of people that would carry on in such of a way. Do you think there's a lack of these rites of passages could be, behind what motivates this kind of behavior?
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying in the intro, our ancestors, and, when we go back a bit, there were initiations, there were rites of passage. And the way in which they were done was that the older men initiated the younger men. So that was, across the continents, every continent of the planet, that was the way that rites were done. And so the young men got to see what it is to be a mature man, and got to see, the qualities that there were in their elders. And right now, our younger generations don't really hang out with elders. They hang out with their peers, so we call it peer initiation. You know, a lot of them are initiating themselves into manhood through being with their peers, with their same age cohort. And what we're saying is that's fine and that can work, but actually you hanging out with people the age of your grandfather gives you a different perspective on the world.
Yeah, I can understand that. I used to actually hang out around the older generation quite a bit when I was younger, and I used to walk the streets because a lot of the older generation would be out on their front porch, you know what I'm saying, watching people go by, and I'd just strike up a conversation, and it can be quite interesting.
Well, for me, elders, if we can use that word, elders have been there and seen it and done it, and that's what young people need to be around, is people who go, I did that. I know that. And because young people can be very cocky, can think they know everything, and there's a part of that that's good. We as young people, we have to be ambitious and we have to want to change things, but at the same time, we also need to know where we're coming from,
right?
And what our ancestry is, and what culture we're actually coming from. And if you don't hang out with old people, you don't know that.
I think there's a lot of truth in that. I couldn't help but laugh a minute ago because you made the comment about young people being cocky. I'm like, oh, Lord, do I know. I'm a father of 3 boys above age 18.
Who's like on that one then?
I've had my face full of that cocky.
Yeah. It's a great energy, but, it needs, we need to also remember, respect, and the older generation are very good at dealing with that cockiness, whereas the father and the mother take it personally.
Yeah, that is true. I know I took it personally quite a bit. My kids started getting more respectful after they got into karate. Go figure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess that's sort of like a rite of passage, or it could be, couldn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the karate, all of those kind of, martial arts, there's a discipline to them which needs to be mastered, and what that discipline is saying to them is you don't actually know, everything. Now you need to be taught by somebody else how to do this. And that overcomes the cockiness, doesn't it? And also, I think with martial arts and those kind of things, it gives you an inbuilt confidence. So you don't have to be brash, you don't have to show off. All the real masters of those kind of things, that you wouldn't know that they were masters. Because they're quite content not to show it off. And I think that's a real part of those skills.
I think that's a sign of good training.
Absolutely.
And good upbringing. But coming to your book, because I never got a chance to read it, I saw you in an interview on YouTube, however, even though I didn't read the book, and it was talking about this being the story of a boy who, as he's growing up, goes through these rites of passage. Can you tell us a little something about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the main character in the book is what I call an alpha boy. So he hasn't got a father. His father dies when he's young, and he throws himself into work, and he's very successful at work. So he gets a lot of things very quickly. When he's young, he gets a lot of material goods and a lot of what we culturally think are good things. But because he has no role models, he lacks an understanding of that, and he remains a boy. Like we were saying earlier, how he remains a lad. He has no maturity, and there's a lot of celebrities, a lot of people in our culture who are like that, who've got a lot of material goods but don't have emotional intelligence. And what he then goes through is a series of disappointments. He sees them as disappointments, but actually they're rites of passage. because one of the characters says in the book, the sign of a good man is how he deals with disappointment, not how he deals with success. We all think we're going to be good at dealing with success, but it's how good are you at dealing with disappointment, and that's what rights are about.
I was going to ask you though on that. Did you use the term alpha for a particular reason? Did it have anything to do with alpha male terminology?
Yeah, I mean, we think of the alpha male as a very aggressive,
dominant,
and kind of character. Whereas throughout the book, I'm examining a Siberian shamanic understanding of the wolf. So their understanding of the alpha wolf, from their observation of wolf packs, is that the alpha wolf actually is a bringer of peace. He's very reliable, he's monogamous, and he keeps the pack together by being kind to the rest of the pack, not being aggressive. So it's a very different understanding of the alpha male. And I think, we need to learn from that, from the observation of that. And we've got a very biased view of alpha males, because actually within the wolf pack, they don't behave that way.
So this is kind of like a story of maturing and a story of growth, but he doesn't necessarily go through a rite of passage like the ancient Aborigines used to put their young through. It was more like a natural rite of passage that just came from life naturally as he went along.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the interesting thing now is, the Aboriginal people deliberately put their boys through rites of passage. All of us as men are going through rites of passage, whether we want to or not. We're being initiated by life. And, for him, being successful, doing all those kind of things, he comes up against redundancy. He's made redundant. He's sacked from his job. And that is the immensity of the rites of passage. For him, it's a loss of status. It's all of those things. And who is he now? What are you without your job, without all of that, all of those things that come with that? And that's really, for me, the understanding for men is, we are more than just our job. We are more than just our ability to earn money. We're so much more than that. And that's what rites of passage always has done, is ask that question of the boy. What are you? What qualities do you bring to the world? And we're without doing them deliberately, we're going through rites anyway. And there are for me, there are 8 rites of passage in any one man's life, from conception through to death. And, it's not just the rite of passage from being a boy to being a man. There are other ones throughout our lives. And, we're in that kind of change and transition all the time.
I was just thinking that how much this reminds me of Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
No? It's not the same?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely.
It is the same thing. It's just a different hero's journey, sort of. Yeah,
I mean, like Joseph, I went and trained with African tribe. I was went and made a documentary film with the Samburu, who are nomadic people in Kenya. And they gave me a very clear understanding and indication of rites of passage, which also Joseph did. And, it's a really interesting model. But, I've developed it my own way in that sense.
Right. Well, actually, I think a lot of people did. I mean, one of the things, because I have a video here that a radio host friend of mine gave me of Joseph Campbell being interviewed by, not Joseph Campbell, but George Lucas being interviewed by Bill Moyers. And he talks about his friend Joseph Campbell influencing him with the hero's journey. in the movie Star Wars when he, created it. And I'm thinking, if you stop and watch, like Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Xena Warrior Principle, you see the theme recurring and time again in TV sitcoms and, movies and stuff like that. In other words, it's always a different story, but it's the same theme underlying it, same thread.
Absolutely. And it's every story that's ever been told, in that sense, isn't it? When I first started out, on this particular novel, I started to look at, what is called chick lit, for women, these stories about, women going through, and it's a hero's passage, it's a heroine's passage, it's exactly the same thing. And that's the story that we all love, is somebody comes up against problems and overcomes them and becomes more than they were before. And that's the hero, that's the hero does that work. And that's a, human condition. The Samburu who have no telly would love stories like that. We've always loved stories like that. And they give us hope. They give us hope because it's about change and it's about, compassion and us developing as human beings.
And then you get to see the good that came out of it when you're up in your 50s and above, or give or take that time range, in other words. But, that's in some cases, because, it seems to me, and I could be wrong, that some people, they have the experiences, but they don't glean the benefit from it, and when they're in their 70s, they're still acting like they're a teenager.
Absolutely, and they remain bitter. A lot of our older generation who should be in this state are very bitter, very resentful, and that, they're still immature. If you haven't reached this place, then you become bitter, and you go, you look at the young people and you're very jealous and things. When I become an elder, and I'm on my road to becoming an elder, I don't want to be a bitter old elder. I want to be a very loving and kind elder. And I think, that's the sign that you've done the work.
Well, why do you suppose it is, if you were to venture a guess, that you can take two people and they can each go through these rites of passage or this hero's journey, but one will mature from it and the other one will stagnate? What do you suppose causes that?
I think, there's number of possibilities. It may come back to the way that they were parented, but also, I can't also judge. All I can offer is a rites of passage, and maybe someone gets it instantly from doing the rites of passage, and other people maybe take 10 years before they get it, and it takes them a long time to absorb the message. So it's difficult to say, this is why some people don't do it and this is why people do it. But it can be that that it's just not the right time for them and they need to go through some more. They need to go through some more tough times before they're able to see the compassion and the silver lining in the cloud.
And then, too, some people never get it in this lifetime, which is sad. And that, I've really thought about that when it came to religion, and this is a little off topic, but in a way it's kind of attached. But I've often thought that this very thing about the people, especially that don't get it right in one lifetime, why they would be wrong to think of a God that would send somebody like that to hell instead of giving them a chance to repeat and try to pick up what he learned, in other words. Because sometimes it's just more than you can get in a single lifetime, and to judge somebody in a single lifetime just wouldn't seem fair.
Absolutely. No, whatever we think of God or Spirit or Holy, whatever, is compassionate. And, we're going to be given chances all the time. It's only human beings who think that way, go, this is your only opportunity. There's so many opportunities always for change, always being offered. And flipping heck, I'm trying my hardest this time round, but, maybe it'll take another 2 goes or so before I get it. Who knows?
I think I've missed quite a bit of a road before I got to where I'm at now, and I still think I'm off the course quite a bit.
But that's the interesting thing. Like today, I was working with a group of men, and some of the most beautiful men now in their 50s and 60s were rogues. When they were in their teens and their 20s, they were in prison. They were addicts. They were tough people.
Well, I was in prison, but not for violence. But I got to tell you, I had a violent past, and I ended up getting out of school because I got tired of fighting so much. I was having like 4 fights a day.
Yeah.
But now I'm more into a spiritualist.
Absolutely.
So it's surprising what a lifetime can do to a person.
Absolutely. And there's, the most interesting men that I work with are the ones who've got that, that range of experience, that haven't just stuck to one thing, that haven't just, become an accountant and been that for 40 years or whatever. They've done this, they've had a go at that, and they've moved through that, and they've made mistakes. Rites of passage, are about making mistakes. They're not about getting it right. That's the interesting thing, because people go, oh, when I did this right, I finally got there, But actually the exploration of getting something wrong is where we learn. That's where the knowledge comes, from getting it wrong. And that's what, we're kind of trying to avoid that. And actually that's not very helpful or useful for us.
Yeah, I know. My wife one day opened up the freezer door, and I think it was the bread was sitting, right where it would, when you open the door, it would fall down. And she got mad and slammed it on the table. And I looked at her and says, "So, what did you learn from that incident?" And she gave me a blank look. I says, "Well, we'll be repeating this one down the road, won't we?"
No, exactly. Yeah.
Oh God! But yeah, people they sometimes they get so frustrated they don't stop and analyze what's going on. In other words, and I think that's where so many miss the boat at.
Yeah, we need some. The culture that we've created is very fast, and very immediate, and we need some time for reflection. And in the book, that's what I'm saying is, you need time just to breathe, just to learn how to breathe properly, to sit properly, to relax, to do these things that we haven't been trained in. None of us have been trained in how to breathe properly. And that's so important. What's really important? To be able to sit properly and to look after yourself.
Yeah. I never really knew it until recently. But like, for example, sitting properly can save you tons of trouble with your back when you're older. Breathing properly, you'll never know the importance of it until you come up with a severe case of asthma or emphysema or, something, and you need the ability to breathe better than what you're doing. You'll begin to learn about it then.
Yeah. We learn in the crisis, whereas, for me, part of the book is about this idea, you're doing preventative work rather than crisis work. You're looking at yourself and you're saying, am I sitting properly? Am I thinking properly? What am I thinking about? Am I beating myself up all day long, or am I being positive? And there's a lot of things that we can do which are very, very simple, but we're so busy trying to make money and trying to make ends meet that we don't enjoy those things. We just ignore them. And then, as you say, crisis comes, illness comes, and then we're fighting this really difficult battle at that point.
By this time, it doesn't do as near as much good as it would have done if we got a head start on it.
No. If we taught our children how to breathe properly in, school, and how to sit properly even in the classroom, that would save us millions and millions of dollars in healthcare. You know, that's the thing. You know, this is long-term thinking, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but it's been my experience that long-term thinking has got its place. If you don't look into the invisible possibilities out there, you don't want to just keep getting caught with your britches down, having life guide you around.
Absolutely.
If you don't look into the future, life guides you every time it hits you in the face, and you react to it. If you look into the future, you can plan an action that will help you guide around some of these pitfalls, in other words.
And there again, you know, elders can help you in that. Older people can say, hey, you know, I did that. I behaved like you did. And I know how to do this. And that's the other thing for me, is that we have to ask for help. We can't do all of this on our own.
And of course, when people are so young, that's the last thing they ever do is ask for help, because they already know it.
Yeah, you know, you with your 3 boys, you know it. And, you know, it's like, you know, when did one of them say to you, hey, Dad, you know, can you help me, show me how to do this? But it's you know, that's how you breathe properly. That's how you behave properly. Is you say, hey, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. Can you help me? And that actually gives the person that you've asked for help a lot of benefit, as well as benefit for you. That's the interesting part, isn't it? You know, that it benefits the person who's being asked for help as well as the person who's getting help.
Yeah, I think there's a benefit in it for both parties.
Absolutely.
It is a share the wealth card.
Yeah. No, definitely. And, you know, these are, you know, it's all linked into this, you know, culture that we've created, which doesn't have the time for these things, you know, and we're all now starting to be aware that there's a crisis, you know, with fuel and with the way that we're working and all of these things. And we need to start looking for alternatives, you know, we need to start looking for really important alternatives. And they start with breathing properly and, you know, behaving correctly.
Yeah, you know, just recently, when Obama did the Obamacare, he put a clause in there that if an employee worked 40 hours, the company had to provide insurance for that employee free, I think it was, if John explained it to me correctly, my 18-year-old. And you can already see the effect that that's having, because employers are starting to give people 25 to 30-hour work weeks just to get out of paying that, you know, insurance for their employee. And it's causing a lot of people to have to work 2 jobs, and now they're more busy and have less time to look into the kind of stuff that you and me are talking about.
Absolutely. You know,
it's a vicious cycle.
It's a very vicious cycle, and we're not in control. You know, the man is in control, but you know, we have to. You know, my job as someone who's a writer of books, and you know, who's outside of that system, is I have to keep prodding and saying, you know, there's another way. There's another way of doing this. But yeah, you know, it's very difficult because the big corporations can find the ways around of doing this. But yeah, you know, I just encourage people to try and follow their dreams, you know, and become self-employed.
Yeah, I think self-employed is probably the best route to go. If more people did that, companies would wish that they gave people better hours and a more fair shake.
Absolutely. You know, and some companies are seeing it, but there are very few companies who are doing it. You know, the benefits of looking after your staff are massive. You know, it's just like I was saying with healthcare. You know, a company that really looks after and cares for its employees actually makes more money. But, you know, they don't see it. They just think in short term.
Yeah, just how to cut corners. But cutting corners sometimes cuts quality right along with it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to say, would you like to give us kind of a description of your book without giving the whole thing away? Kind of give people a peek about what they might be getting out of the book when they read it?